Hello everyone, Killer Shrew Fan here, and I hope you're all doing well. Now, I just came from Walmart, which has recently stocked all of the new Savage Strike Jurassic World dinosaurs, but I only returned with one. That one, of course, being this, the Savage Strike Dilophosaurus by Mattel. Now, those of you who are not new to my channel know I am very much outspoken against this particular figure. So I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, why? Why did I pick this one out of the four total Savage Strike dinosaurs? And, I just kind of was standing there and I'm like, I have bashed on this figure so many times. I have spoken up against it time and time again from the start of its images being released to the present, and I figured, let's not just bash on this thing, let's pick one up, do an honest review, give my thoughts, and maybe show you more of why I am not a huge fan of it. So in this review, I'm going to try to be as objective as I possibly can be, but just know I am not a fan of this figure right off the bat, and take my critique with a grain of salt. So we're going to start off by giving a closer look at the Dino Rivals Savage Strike packaging, because this is my first Savage Strike review on the channel. And then we're going to open it up, give you guys a closer look at the figure itself. So without further ado, let's do this! So the box is pretty standard to what we have seen for the Dino Rivals line. You've got the Jurassic World logo in the top right corner, the lovely black, orange, yellow, and red coloring. In the bottom, you've got the T-Rex versus the Triceratops across the Dino Rivals logo. There is Chris Pratt's character Owen Grady looking at me, judging me for buying dinosaur toys. There you can see Savage Strike Dilophosaurus, a 4+ year warning, and then a diagram of the action feature that comes with this dinosaur toy. Unfortunately, that lovely black stripe lining the crest is absent in the final product there, but that is a glamour shot, so it's to be expected that it looks a little different. And then of course you've got the T-Rex logo in the back, done in those vibrant, warm colors. And in the top right corner you can see you have got a Nuevo, I can't say some of those words, marking on the packaging. The back of the box features a lovely diagram of the Dilophosaurus and a sort of how to activate the action feature. You've got step 1, you squeeze it 2 to 3 times in the water, and then step 2, you squeeze its belly again outside the water and it sprays a stream of liquid at your target, just like the old Kenner one. Here is a close-up of that diagram, and as you can see, it is a bit nicer than the final product, but again, it is a glamour shot, so it's going to look a little bit better than what you get in the box. The top left corner reminds us to get the Jurassic World Facts app so we can scan a digital copy of our dinosaur into our phones and learn all sorts of cool facts and factoids about the figure. And in the bottom left corner you can see the other dinosaurs that are available in this wave of Savage Strike. You've got Velociraptor Blue Retool, the repaint of the Jumping Velociraptor, the repaint of the Pachycephalosaurus, and the Styracosaurus is of course a holdover from the first wave. Alright, that is enough hullabaloo about the packaging. I say it is time we break this Dilophosaurus free. So before we get to the figure itself, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the collector card, because I forgot to do that with the Nosutoceratops. As you can see, you've got some lovely artwork of the dinosaur in question against a red background. You've got all the stats. Strength, not very strong, coming in at a 5. Speed, kind of fast, coming in with a 7. Intelligence, not bad, with a 6. And aggression/ferocity, a 6. And then, of course, the back, nothing too special. But yeah, I kind of like the artwork on this card. Certainly looks a lot more appealing than the figure itself, which we're going to bring in right about now. So here we can see the dinosaur itself, and honestly, I gotta say, out of the box, I think it's even less impressive. I mean, it's got a nice feel in the hand. It is cool to have it free and loose, but at the same time, I think one of the strongest appeals of this thing was the contrast in colors between the dinosaur model and the box art. So once you take that out of the box, you kind of lose that, which is a little unfortunate. But anywho, I think we ought to take some time to talk about the figure, get into the nitty-gritty. So obviously with the sculpture, as with many of Mattel's offerings, it is a pretty solid sculpture and captures the likeness of everyone's favorite spitting dinosaur quite well. The proportions all seem pretty on point. The feet don't seem too big on this model, which is something that some of Mattel's smaller figures do suffer from, just in the name of balance, but here it all seems quite well. The tail, another thing that Mattel seems to suffer from, is actually quite long on this model and does feel in proportion to the rest of the body, which is great to see. So this thing is definitely proportionate, and even from a distance you can see all the detail that has been crammed into this sculpture. If we move in for a closer look, starting off at the head as we usually do, you can see the likeness of the Dilophosaurus is pitch perfect here, and the scales of varying sizes and shapes are adorning the entire surface area of this Dilo's face. And the eye, as you can see, is done in that classic yellow with black pupil and is seated quite nicely under the brow ridge, the scaly brow ridge. Unfortunately, my camera's having focusing issues. There we go. You can get a better look at all of the minute detail that is on this head. The crests have been sculpted quite well. I love all of the individually sculpted scales. The teeth kind of mush together, unfortunately, but they are so small that I can forgive it, and there's still enough definition there for me to visually interpret what is going on with each tooth. The frill itself also features some lovely veins and tendons, as you can see. It is they really did a good job of capturing that sort of thin membrane type feel to the skin on the frill, given the nature of those sort of, I don't even know, are those bones? The bones? You can see the bones coming up through the webbing, which is nice. And if we move down the length of the body, there's not a lot going on. I mean, it's just kind of sort of elephantine type scaling, crosshatch scaling, wrinkled skin that continues all the way down to the tip of the tail. There are some nice tendons stretching in the tail as it swings to the left. And then if we move back up the opposite side, really the same story, the sort of crosshatch scaling, wrinkly skin type stuff. Some lovely folds of skin down around the thigh and the gut. Here you can get a good indication of the rib cage, which is nice to see. And then there are some lovely flexing tendons and muscles in the neck as the creature strains its head forward. And then we come back up to that lovely Dilophosaurus head. The arms feature some lovely musculature, as you can see in the bicep and forearm. And the hands feature 3 claws, all unpainted unfortunately, but there is some lovely wrinkles going on in the fingers and, as you can see, at the joints of the elbow. And yeah, that's really all there is to the hands of this model. Pretty simple. They're in a bent formation. And then if we take a look at the feet, some lovely plate scaling at the back of the toes. Unfortunately, the toe claws and the hand claws on this Dilophosaurus are unpainted, but that's pretty par for the course in terms of Mattel. The bird-like legs and thighs look very nice. There's some lovely musculature, very spindly calves, but the thighs look very, very powerful. And it does capture a very bird-like feel. I almost wish the calves were a little bit thicker. That might help these feet look a little bit more in proportion. I know I said they were, but they could use a little work. Moving along the underbelly, you can see crosshatch scaling across the board here as well, with some more wrinkles. There you can see the rubbery underbelly, which is part of the action gimmick on this Dilophosaurus. And then we come to everyone's favorite part, the QR code. So if you want to scan this dinosaur into your phone and make it part of your digital collection, feel free to use my code. Now's your chance. There's a nice clean look at it. Go buck wild with it. As far as the articulation goes on this model, it is much more involved than the classic attack pack, which is a breath of fresh air. I was worried that it was going to be kind of simplistic, uninteresting, all that stuff, but you have got the usual points of articulation on this thing, with those, of course, being the arms and the legs and everything, and it is, similar to what we have with the attack packs, the basic articulation, but with some notable improvements. Those, of course, being in the shoulder joint at the arm and the mouth. But anywho, for the arms, before we get to the mouth, you can see they can rotate outwards, kind of give it this sort of crucified look. Not sure why you'd want that. But then, of course, the frills can go forward and backwards, just like on the attack pack. The arms forward and backwards as well, but not too far. They get hindered by the frill up there. But, it is what it is, pretty simple, and the hands themselves are a softer plastic. The legs can go forward and backwards. They kind of have ratchet points where they lock into position, and then you know, you can get them kind of down low, get this thing crouched, maybe in more parallel position, or if you really wanted to, you can have it in this rearing upwards position, letting out a fearsome shriek. And then, of course, you know, like I said, the frills themselves are on that sort of wire or, you know, screw joint where they can go forward and backwards, kind of like barn doors. I kind of miss the removable frill idea, but the big thing that I like about this is an articulated jaw. Finally, on a Dilophosaurus, we get the articulated jaw. That's something we never saw in the attack packs to accommodate the spitting projectile thing. But yeah, so that's a definite improvement, and it can open quite wide, and I really like it. I like the fact that I can open and close the jaw on this thing. Something else interesting to note is that the tail is made of a soft rubber type material, and the belly is a very soft rubbery material, all meant to accommodate that action feature. As far as the action gimmick goes, since we talked about that, here you can see we've got it full. I went and I filled it with water, and then on the underbelly you're supposed to just press on that and it sprays out some water. There we go. There's a nice little squirt. Not much, but kinda. I think we're gonna try that again. It's not good for much, so let's refill it. Go again here. Little bit better, you can see, kinda. It's kind of a weak stream, honestly. Okay, we're gonna try one more time here. Alright, take 3, here we go. Oh, that was a good one. Okay, yeah, right onto my computer, of course. But no, sometimes it's a little hit and miss, and you usually get like one good spray out of it, and then after that you kind of need to refill it, which is unfortunate. And I'm also a little concerned about how that's going to affect the plastic and paint on this thing over varied uses, because it doesn't have the same rubber build as the classic Kenner one that was just solid rubber. This one has joints that I'm sure have to do with a sort of metal rod in place to kind of keep the pieces moving around it in the mouth, and especially at those frills. And I'm worried if over time, if repetitive use is going to cause those to rust, and if you don't dry it properly, maybe even mold, which would be absolutely unfortunate. So yeah, this action feature, though fun, I'm kind of on the fence about overall, because it is a little weak and it is a little bit risky, for want of a better term, with the idea of prolonged use. So now on to the stuff that I really don't like, and I think it's pretty obvious. It goes without saying. The paint scheme on this thing is absolutely atrocious. I mean, to Mattel's credit, it does look better than it originally did in its promo images, but of course, that's just kind of what we come to expect. It never looks the same as it does in the promo pics, for better or for worse. In this case, I think it is for better. The color is a bit more muted. It isn't quite as crayon bright, but that doesn't make it acceptable in my eyes. It still has a lot of problems. For one thing, I can see what they're going for here with the sort of, it looks like they referenced venomous amphibians and reptiles like poison dart frogs or brightly colored snakes or things to that effect. But honestly, it still went off the rails here. Honestly, a quick fix for me is if they inverted the colors. Here you can see the dorsal red striping. If they had made that the base color and then made the purple stripes, I think I would appreciate that much more. I'm getting a much better impression from this thing just from seeing more red than purple on this back. But unfortunately, they chose to go with the purple base tones. And then if we look at the frill here, that has all the finesse of a child's finger painting gone awry. It looks like bad spin art. It doesn't follow any rhyme or reason. There's no patterning, no forethought. Mattel just took some paintbrushes and just splatter painted this thing in a way that they thought would be fun and interesting, and unfortunately it's not. It's a mess. It doesn't feel organic. It definitely feels painted, versus the other models where we have that distinctive patterning and everything that looks threatening. It looks like a display. This just looks like this thing spilled ketchup and mustard all over itself, and now it needs a tissue. So yeah, no, I am not at all a fan of this paint scheme. I do see what they were going for, and it is better than what was expected, but ultimately what we are left with is a purple dinosaur with red stripes, yellow spots, and a cream underbelly. it's a mishmash of ideas and colors that don't quite work together. Again, if they had inverted the colors, made this thing red with purple striping, maybe that would be enough for me. I don't know. Obviously, I'm left with what we have to go off of. And honestly, every time I look at this thing and try to like it, all it does is remind me of what could have been. What could have been if Target hadn't canceled the original legacy item. And again, that's not really on Mattel, that's on Target, but still, if Mattel wanted to re-release this thing and give us this figure still, they needed to think it through better. They didn't need to just throw different paint apps on it and send it along. They needed to plan out an actually decent color scheme. And what scares me about this the most is I see a lot of people settling for it. They say, oh yeah, it's not as good as it could be, but hey, I'm just glad to have it, so it's good. No, don't settle for this, you know? They could have been so much better. So, back to the review itself. I know I got a little off track there with my rantings, but as far as the size of this thing goes, you're looking at right around 7.5 inches from tip of tail to tip of snout. And then if we since it's standing back at its highest point allowed here, from the base all the way to the highest point, you're looking at just under 5.25 inch off the ground. Somewhere in that zone. It's hard to get an exact measurement when you can't get right up next to it. Unfortunately, I can't tell you the centimeters, so yeah, a decently sized figure, right in line with the other Savage Strike dinosaurs. For size comparisons, we're going to go ahead and bring in the classic Velociraptor Battle Damage Blue. Everyone loves blue, so here she is next to the Velociraptor, and as you can see, standing blue up to a higher point, she does come above the crest of the Dilophosaurus when the Dilophosaurus stands in a more parallel position. And as far as the length goes, they're pretty equal. The Dilophosaurus actually has the edge, especially if you stretched out that rubbery tail. And yeah, this seems pretty accurate to what we know from the Jurassic World movies, the Dilophosaurus versus Velociraptor sizing. Next up, we have got the recently reviewed Nasutoceratops next to the Savage Strike Dilophosaurus. The link will be in the description for this review. And honestly, I think these two don't really work together. I mean, they're both like two sides of the same coin with extreme coloration going on, kind of out there colors, not just the classic dull browns and grays and greens, but the Nasutoceratops just does it so much better. The colors work so much better together. The transitionary color of the teal to the blue was a great idea rather than making it cream to purple. That all works fantastically. The Dilophosaurus, is just a mishmash of ideas and colors that don't work, and the Nasutoceratops perfectly highlights why. Alright everyone, that is going to do it for my review of the Savage Strike Dilophosaurus. In conclusion, no, I don't like it. I didn't think I would. I honestly just bought it to make this review and kind of be a little more fair to it. But it doesn't do anything for me. It really doesn't. And it's a shame because everything about it is nice. The sculpture is nice. The gimmick, though hit and miss, is still very good. But just the colors, it cripples it so much, and it just ruins the whole thing for me. Honestly, I like it better than I did in the promo images, but overall, no, I don't like it. I don't like the paint scheme at all, and it just ruins the whole thing for me. I will not be picking up another one of these as I usually do, you know, one in box, one out. This is it for this Dilophosaurus, and honestly, I wish I could like it. I really do. And if you like it, more power to you. I can see people who are into the Chaos Effects line, or people who like brightly colored dinosaurs. I can see them liking this, but me personally, no, not at all. And don't settle. Don't sit there and say, well, it's the best that we got, so I'm gonna convince myself that I do like it. You don't have to do that. If you don't like this model, don't sit there and think to yourself that, yeah, it grew on me. And if it does, yes, but don't just say, well, it's the best we've got for this particular model, so I'm gonna go out and get it anyway. Don't settle. You deserve better than that. And really, if you buy this model and you do settle, all you're saying really is to Mattel, like, hey, you can give us less impressive stuff and we'll still buy it, which is not the message that we want to send at all. So if you were to ask me, would I like better, this one or the Kenner one, this one easily goes to Kenner. I'm going to give this model itself a 5 out of 10 for good sculpt, good articulation, decent gimmick, but colors that look like it was done by a kindergartner. It does not impress me in the least. As always, my word is not and never has been gospel, and I want to know what you guys think of this model. Don't forget to leave a comment down below expressing your thoughts on the way out, and if you enjoyed our review today, I would appreciate the like to let us know that we did a good job, and don't forget to subscribe for more killer toy reviews coming your way shortly. Thanks again for tuning in, and that's going to do it for us today. Killer Shrew Fan, out.